Jason Derulo is being sued by Emaza Gibson. He's a singer and a producer, and he brings in new talent into the music industry. Well, he's being sued by Emaza Gibson, a singer, who claims that he breached the contract. So she got an attorney, she filed a lawsuit. The lawsuit outlines the damages. One of them is SA, harassment, failure to prevent and or remedy harassment, retaliation in violation of FEHA. FEHA stands for Fair Employment and Housing Act. The S word, harassment in violation of the Urban Civil Rights Act. So now she is demanding compensation for harassment. The big S word harassment charge also for stalling her career, not pushing it as agreed in by the contract. The parties named in the lawsuit are Jason Derulo, Frank Harris, Atlantic Recording Corporation, Radio Corporation of America, DBA, RCA Records, Future History Inc. So she's not only suing Jason Derulo, she's also suing music companies that are connected to him. It's a 32-page lawsuit outlining her grievances. She and her lawyer sat with TSR Investigates, and here's what they had to say.
Trying to pressure her into a sex ritual.
I feel like I'm being retaliated against, intimidation.
She says when she turned down his advances, he was dropped from her label.
Devastated, my heart dropped.
What she says is going on behind the scenes that no young female artist should ever have to go through.
So she and her sisters had a singing group, but now the group is no longer together.
One of her sisters, but when the group broke up, her popularity as a solo artist, it took off. And it was around the same time she met pop recording artist Jason Derulo. The two, they kept in touch. And then 4 years later, in August 2021, she was signed as the breakout artist on a new joint venture that Derulo secured with Atlantic Records. Emaza finally got the break she dreamed of. So she thought.
I felt like this was like destiny for me.
Destiny unfulfilled. Gibson says that she was elated when she got chose by Jason Derulo to be the first female artist for a new project with the label he owns, Future History, and Atlantic Records. Was there a flirty relationship between you two?
I've always tried to keep a professional setting with everyone, especially with men in the industry, because we all heard those stories. This is something, like I said, I've been wanting to do since a little girl, and no one gets taken serious if you're just out here trying to take things beyond a professional level.
Her contract said that she'd be given an advance payment of $150,000. Later, they generate a budget to curate her first album and market it. They would produce and distribute a mixtape within 4 months and a full album 6 months after that. Also, her first single would have Derulo as the featured artist. She says the terms were standard, and the studio sessions began November 2021 at a studio in Tarzana.
He was Ubering me, so they were from like 9 p.m. to like 2 in the morning, those sessions.
That's when Gibson says things went left.
But with those sessions, he started to text me saying like, oh, are you going to have a drink with me? And I told him I'm not a drinker. And he wanted me to go out to dinner with him.
According to the lawsuit filed in Los Angeles County Superior Court, Derulo, quote, assured her that he would arrange for an Uber to take her home. She says Derulo did pressure her to drink with him once before.
I know when you don't accept an offer, people get offended. So I took a sip of the drink, but I let him know that this was a large amount of alcohol. It's super strong. And he took a sip of the drink, and he had confirmed it was super strong.
She declined to drink any further.
Something compelled me in a session with him to tell him, say, hey, I'm not going to bend my morals in order to move forward with my career. And he responds with, oh, you might have to go skin a fish scale. And this is in front of an engineer, and I froze because I don't know what that means. I only know that fish scale is related to cocaine. I've never done cocaine in my life. And the goat skin, I didn't know what that was. So when I told my mom about it, we did some research. I found a couple articles, and it was back to a Haitian culture ritual of a sex ritual and the goat. And, you know, with blood and everything, and that's something I'm not willing to do in order to move forward.
The lawsuit defines the ritual as a Haitian reference, referring to, quote, conducting sex rituals sacrificing goat blood, and doing cocaine. It claims the, quote, manner and timing of such a statement meant that Derulo was demanding sexual acts from Emaza in order for Derulo to fulfill his role as her mentor, supervisor, and musical collaborator. This explicit demand for sex in exchange for success was reinforced through Derulo's subsequent behavior.
So it's kind of strange that she would mention that Jason Derulo wanted her to do all this ritual, this ritual with goat's blood, because he is the son of Haitian parents. He wasn't born in Haiti, but his first language was Haitian Creole, according to Google.
This explicit demand for sex in exchange for success was reinforced through Derulo's subsequent behavior, end quote. Gibson says that she brushed it off and began preparing for a big meeting with Derulo and top executives at Atlantic Records in New York City.
When it was time to go to that meeting, I was alerted by him seconds before getting out the SUV that this is going to be another artist by the name of Rosa joining us in the meeting. And I was under the impression that the meeting was for me because he told me I was going to be the first artist signed to his label. And then when it was time to showcase her music, she was showcasing a record that was promised to me.
She says she was blindsided and confronted Derulo in the car after the meeting ended.
Turned his head, what does she have to do with you? We weren't going to tell you anything. We don't have to tell you anything. And I'm just frozen in the back because I'm by myself. I don't have my mom here. I just need to get back to the hotel room.
From that point on, she vowed only to conduct business with Derulo and her manager present, which is her mother, Sandra Bales. Months went by. She says that she was itching to get back in the studio, but Derulo and his manager, Frank Harris, had stopped answering her calls and messages. She says she started paying for her own sessions at a studio elsewhere until she finally got a hold of Derulo, and they set up a session on June 7th, 2022.
I let him know that I was on my way. I got my videographer. There was a lot of traffic.
She admits that she was an hour late. She says that President Biden was in town, which snarled traffic.
And as soon as I step inside the building, he comes charging towards.
As you come onto the channel, kindly hit the like bell and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as yet. Thank you.
Inside the building, he comes charging towards me, yelling at me. So the point where I had to step back with my right foot and put my hand on my chest because I was just so shocked at this man charging towards me. If I would have stood with my 2 feet in front, he would have bumped into me. And he just kept on going. Who do you think you are as a new artist? You're supposed to be here before me, and just embarrassing me in front of all of his staff. And there was all men there, and everyone was just quiet. And then after that, he tries to give me a hug, and I turn away and run to the bathroom, and I go and cry. His engineer had to go in and comfort me, saying, it's okay, it's just tough love. That's not tough love. You could have put me to the side. Why did you have to make a scene or even just invade my personal space before you're going to hit me?
She says the session was cut short. Derulo claiming that he had a flight to catch. It was the last time she spoke to him. 3 months later, she received a phone call from Derulo's team that she was being released from her contract.
Devastated. My heart dropped when I heard that because I was like, I'm not asking to be released. I'm asking to release my music.
She claims they wanted her to be happy.
No one complained about my performance. No one complained about my execution on these records. I was constantly told I was a superstar. And you guys agreed on putting a single out. Now I'm being released.
Attorney Nima Rahmani is president of West Coast Employment Lawyers, who are representing Emaza Gibson.
We're looking at 2 different types of sexual harassment. The first is the retaliation against Emaza. She chose not to have sex with him, and that was her choice. She can't be punished for that, which is what Jason tried to do. The other type of sexual harassment is the preferential treatment given to others that were engaging in sexual activity with Derulo. So it creates a hostile work environment where you're not only punishing people that don't, but you're rewarding people that do engage in this type of conduct. And it's unlawful under California law.
They're seeking damages for unpaid wages, loss of earnings, deferred earnings, attorney's fees, and emotional distress. What compels you to come forward?
This whole time I've just been trying to get help. And, me sharing my story, I hope other women, like you said, feel strong enough to, hold people accountable that did them wrong.
We have been in contact with Jason Derulo, who's working with his management team to get us over a response, but he did send a message to his Instagram followers on Friday.
I wouldn't normally comment. These claims are completely false. Hurtful. I stand against all forms of harassment, and I remain supportive of anybody following their dreams. I've always strived to live my life in a positively impactful way. That's why I sit here before you deeply offended by these defamatory claims. God bless.
We did reach out to Atlantic Records for a comment. They tell us that they backed Jason Derulo's statement on Instagram and any new developments and updates. So be sure to keep us in the loop.
So that was TSR Investigates, and Justin Carter did the investigating. Emaza was signed to the label back in August of 2021 with RCA's affiliate Future History. Future History is a joint venture between RCA and singer Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo is also a voice coach. She said she was dropped from the label after she rejected him. So the lawsuit claims that she rejected his advances and subsequently he dropped her from the label, breaching the contract they had together. This is what she outlined in her lawsuit that she filed in the Los Angeles Superior Court. So she's claiming because of the experience, she is now suffering from anxiety, and she said she was very traumatized by the experience. She said she's had to deal with this inhumane work situation, and at this point, she has nothing. She's back to square one. She's back to zero. But it's very troubling to me that allegedly he wanted her to partake in some type of goat ritual with blood. She said he told her in order for her to make it in the music business, she would have to partake in this ritual, goat skin and fish scales. And she said when she talked about it to her mom and looked it up, she found out it was referencing a Haitian sex ritual that they do in voodoo. That involves blood. I've heard it before, where in music, the music industry requires some type of payment for your success, and most oftentimes it's a sexual favor. But a lot of people have been coming out and saying that recently. Before it was on the hush-hush, nobody wanted the public to know because they didn't want to put themselves out there as being just a toss-around girl. Now, women are just emboldened since Cassie filed her lawsuit, and they're coming out and saying, listen, it happened to me. I was forced and coerced. If I didn't give in, I couldn't get to the next level. My records would not be played. I would not be promoted. I would not be going on any tours. So she said the environment was very hostile. And she's not the only one who complains about such nature in the business, the music business. So oftentimes men as well as women in the music business are saying that they are being forced to have sex in order to get a record deal. And how awful is that? That you're in such duress. In order for you to make it as a singer, you've got to lay in the bed with someone. It's horrible. So this is Hurricane Chris talking about his experience while he was being interviewed by Vlad TV. He had to go on a bunch of parties with Clive Davis, and he was only 16 or 17. What is an underage young man, a child, going on dates with Clive Davis? Because that's what it was, dates, okay? Don't mistake it. They call it parties. I'll take you to a party, but it's a date. Anyway, this is what he had to say. Again, this is Vlad TV doing the interview. And this is a very small part of the interview.
You and Clive Davis ever interact at all or no?
Yeah, that's in order for me to sign my deal, I had to sit down at a table with Clive Davis, and I had to look at Clive and say, what do you think about this? And he was like, oh man. That's when they signed the check. And then I had to go to like a bunch of parties with Clive Davis, like parties that I didn't even understand. It was just like people that I didn't know who they were, just a bunch of like millionaires and billionaires and houses that didn't even look real. And Clive Davis used to tell me, just you stand right here with his arm on my shoulder and say, don't move. Everybody come by, they take pictures. Gotta think I'm 16, 17, so it's still kind of strange to me.
But the young man didn't know what kind of deal he was signing because he had to reciprocate by going to several parties with Clive Davis. So I'm wondering what else did he have to do after meeting all these rich people. Clive Davis is a homosexual guy. What did he have to do? It's horrifying, folks, this music business. So I'm wondering what kind of parties did he go on? Was it an S, the big S parties? I don't know. But why would big Clive Davis want this guy who is a young guy coming into the music business who is not influential in any way? He's green. He's just coming into the business. Why would he invite him to several parties? That is the question. Clive Davis already said he's a homosexual man. And I'm telling all the young guys out there going into that music business, have some sense of your manhood, that you don't have to cave in and go on your knees for anybody. So 25-year-old Gibson said she was very disappointed that she was released from her contract. She said she and her two sisters were hoping to make it in the music business. That's why they moved to LA back in 2008. So the musical group with her sisters were disbanded and she was signed to a music deal. I don't think the sisters are singing anymore. So Gibson said this is a case of sexual harassment, clearly, because she said he would give her alcoholic beverages to drink, which she kept refusing. He asked her out, and I guess when push come to shove, he just told her, in order for you to make it, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. But you've got to partake in this ritual that involves blood, fish scales, and goat skin. It is just astonishing to me. So she wants Derulo to stick to the contract, and the contract says she's to have a single featuring Derulo and to produce a mixtape in 4 months and an album in 6. She also said because of the aggressive nature of his advances, she feared for her safety. Derulo, who is 34, is denying all charges. So Gibson is seeking compensation for lost earnings, unpaid wages, deferred compensation, and other employment benefits. Also damages for emotional distress. But it's going to be quite interesting to see if he settles out of court also, like P. Diddy. Guys, I'm over now. Don't forget to hit the like button before you leave the page and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as yet. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.